I think I am recording now. All right, welcome. We're going to be talking about angel investing and specifically our program that helps people become more effective angel investors. All right, let's see if I can get this to work now. Go there. Okay. I think everybody's got their name pretty well. And please contribute. We normally are pretty open with this. So this is a bit more about our program. And we have over 1,000 investors who have graduated from the program, what I would call graduated from the program. We've done over 35 rounds. We've made over 52 investments. There's been over 2,000 in startups who have participated. We've raised $5 million, and there's been over $250 million presented. All right, Paula's taking care of things there. All right, so that's kind of a quick overview. We have been in the United States for about 15 years. We've been in Europe for about 5 years, and we're moving more specifically focused on the UK this year. All right, so I'm going to stop this share and stop that there. All right, so we have this evening, we have 3 people who are graduates of the program. And so Stefan is a graduate as an investor. Dragana is a graduate as a founder. And Dan is also a graduate as a founder. So Dan just won in our last round. Okay. Yay, yay, Dan. Yes, thank you. Yay, yay. All right, so I'm going to give a quick introduction. So Dragana she's in working with ENIA Biosciences, and she has a PhD and has done a lot of research. And I was telling her today, this is one of my very favorite due diligences that I've done with her product, because I didn't really know anything about bioscience before this, and she taught me so much, and it was just really wonderful to have the opportunity to learn so much from such an expert. She spent a lot of very patient time with me. Stefan is so he's in Cologne, and he's doing AI assisted property management and investment analytics for landlords and real estate investors. And he has a lot of networks and a lot of people that he's worked with. And he has been an investor with us. And then Daniel is part of Gentian. Gentian just won our last round. And this is another area that I really didn't understand anything about, but they're, and he'll correct me if I'm wrong, but they do analysis of the earth. And so they're looking for biodiversity and for the health of the plants and other things on the ground. And they're doing it from the satellites. And I didn't know that was a thing. There's all kinds of things I'm learning from this. So I'd like to start. We'll go through the 3. Yes.
Sorry, I wanted to give a bit of a time and introduce yourself. Like, you've been part of Mossy Ventures since the beginning, 15 years now. Have done over 80 angel investings. Has traveled based in the US, the UK, has had experience in different industries. Is a great mentor and coach to especially women, startup founders that are getting into the ecosystem. Is really open with her time, and really great to have her in the program and to have joined participating under her leadership. So sorry to interrupt. Just thought it was only fitting to that people knows who is this coming from.
All right. Thank you, Paula. Okay, what I want to ask some questions of our three panelists. So, how did you find out about this program? And I will start with Dragana because she's on the left side for me. How did you find out about our program?
Thank you, Marta. I found out because we were part of MedTech Innovator in 2024 as the cohort. And I found out through the founders at MedTech Innovator, which was run in Silicon Valley at the time. And I couldn't name the person to you right now, but SAC was mentioned as a great investment, as a great angel syndicate network. And so it was word of mouth.
Thank you. Stefan, how did you find out about us?
I found out about Mossy Ventures, about SIA through an event here in Barcelona during a 1 week business trip. There are those open coffee meetings with investors and entrepreneurs, and I was running into, and then I learned about the hands-on angel investing experience.
Great, thank you. Daniel, how did you find out about our program?
Social media, I'm afraid. I'm sorry to pour water on this, but yeah, social media from my side.
Social media.
LinkedIn, actually, yeah.
That's good. So Paula keeps telling me I need to do better on my social media, so maybe she's right. If it gives us great startups like that. So this time, Stefan, I'll start with you. What surprised you most about this program and going through this program? What surprised you most about it?
I would say most surprising was my perception about the startups and how it changed throughout the program. In particular, the way it changed or the way it went back and forth through the due diligence phase when we are working very closely with the startups for around 4 to 6 weeks, where the investors works in group with the startup to understand, like, on a deeper level, different aspects. And it's a little bit of a roller coaster. So you work very closely and you feel like, wow, this startup is absolutely not investable. But then, like, 2 weeks later, the situation is changing. Your perception is changing as well. And this is my key learning from the program, that and I think there is correlation and there is evidence. The more time as an investor you spend on due diligence, the higher is the return of your portfolio. And this is a good example of this correlation. I
Right.
learned about that in the tech program. Yeah.
Right. Great. Thank you. Daniel, what surprised you most about going through this program?
Well, I think what Stefan just said was really, really poignant, actually, about the due diligence, the fact that you have all those rounds when you go through. I think that was very interesting because there were so many different investor opinions. So that's probably one of the things that I would bring to the table to answer that question is the different opinions of so many angel investors. The quality of the startups as well. I think that there's a lot of really great startups in there. So yeah, I think, and I think it's primarily understanding or relating to early stage investors that have different opinions, and I think how you have coordinated that or shepherded that is really important. So yeah, it's a great program. Difficult to manage.
Yes. Yes, it's perhaps it's a lot like herding cats.
Yes.
I would have to say. And Dragana,
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I would agree to what Stefan and Daniel said, but in addition, I would say one thing that surprised me the most was actually how much I, as a founder, learned throughout this program about the due diligence process. And what ended up happening was that it really made me want to go into investing myself if I had the time to spend that much time not on my business. This is definitely a program I would like to join in the near future as well on the investment side. So I think you get that benefit of having a group because you're all divided in different due diligence teams, and you get one startup you do this due diligence for. And because you don't have this team is created just for the program, you don't have anything you have worked on together on before. This is what Daniel said, that everyone comes with their different opinions. Unlike if you were doing due diligence with a VC, that VC has molded their investors to think a certain way, to look at certain things. And so they all have this group think. Whereas in these little groups, you don't have the group think because you're all so different. And so getting that input for the founders is invaluable. And I can see also for the investors as well, because the perception changes over time because you are challenging each other within the investors groups.
And Dragana is perhaps a glutton for punishment, so because she went through 3 of our programs, and I always say she's my poster child because she made connections in every program. She won one of the programs, but she made connections and was able to pull in other investments because of the connections she made, which is one of the things that happens in our program. It's the opportunity to meet a lot of angels. So Dan, let's see. So, what was your general experience like with going through the program?
It was a series of pitches in competitions, and through those pitches, we obviously had to answer questions from the panel, and we also would through those pitches we would be experiencing the pitches of the other startups in the group on the call at the same time, and yeah, it was the questions became deeper and the due diligence became deeper. And towards the end, we got to a point where the due diligence was very intense, and yeah, it was I got a lot of inspiration from seeing some of the other startups. Actually, there was some amazing companies on there, so I was quite surprised that we won, in all honesty. But yeah, it was it was just a gradual process of kind of natural, lots of startups, and then slowly but surely, as the startups became less in number, the due diligence became more in depth.
I do think, and I agree with you, Dan, that there are a lot of really good companies, and we don't invest in them all, unfortunately, because we don't have the resources. But that is one of the things that actually we're trying to resolve, is to have a way to invest in some of the great companies that we see going through. Mm-hmm. So, Stefan, as an investor, what was your experience like in going through the program?
Yeah, I mean the program itself, we have different touch points in the beginning, mostly pitches. We narrow down from around 80 startups to 24 to 12 to 6, and throughout the competition. There are different, pitch events. In the end, we do due diligence with the remaining 6 startups, and that changes a little bit the way of working. So it's a collaboration between the investors and the startups. So there are 6 due diligence teams, investors and startups. So 5 investors and 1 startup. The result of that is 1 due diligence report per startup, so 6 reports in the end. They will be shared across amongst all the investors, that everyone can get in, can read the report and has the full set of information. And then there is a final demo day, and then it's the voting, and it's not the end. So above and beyond the program, I'm still in contact with some of the startups. So relationships are built between startups and investors, and startups and startups, also investors and investors. My network has increased ever since I joined TAC.
But we've even had some investors join the startups. They were so excited about the startup that they joined in and became part of the team, which is part of what I think is great about what our program does. Paula's helping explain things. Thank you, Paula. And now, Dragana, I'm going to ask you 2 questions in a row. So what was your experience like as a founder going through the program?
Yeah, I mean, my experience, as you can hear, we went through 3 different programs, and I would even go through the program again, even without funding, because we learned so much, and because it's so fast paced, our company just became better and better and better with every single due diligence call with the investors. So our data room just blossomed, which is great when you're preparing for a VC round in the near future, that you actually have all the ducks in order, which not every startup always has at the early stages. We were a part of EBAP, which was an all-female investment team. Then we were a part of TAC and SAC 27. And as Martha said, we made some incredible connections, and we are still, the investors that we got on board, which can be a lot, but a lot of the people are actually pulling work for us. They're helping us still navigate certain parts of the business, and this is where smart money is so much more valuable than just money. And maybe going into this program, the founders don't realize the value that this huge network actually gives you. So yeah, that was my experience. And as I said, it actually will turn me into an investor if I can find the time to do this, because I think it's something we need desperately in Europe compared to the US, right? Especially, this is us talking about the UK investment team. Is that correct, Martha?
Yes. Well, yes. In general, you did mention all of the 3 different programs we've done over the past year. Yes, but yeah, I'm now focusing on the UK, bringing it up in the UK. So Dragana mentioned 3 acronyms. SAC is the US version, and TAC is the European version, and then IBAP was the all women version that we did, which was kind of Paola knows what they stand for. Which was the all-female one. And I don't even know what IBAP stands for, but I'm sure it stands for something. That was our all-female version we did about a year ago, which I would love to do again. That would be fun. Okay, so Dragana, I'm going back to you. What advice would you give to startups looking for funding? In general, so you've gone through the funding process. I assume you've learned a lot. What advice would you give?
My advice would be to just be persistent, right? I mean, there's not that many tax SACs or IBAPs of the world, unfortunately, right? And there's so many more companies. We have been bootstrapped for many, many years, and we have always been looking for advice, not always for money. And I think this is the key for founders. If you're desperate and you're looking for money desperately, it never usually comes. You really need to be looking for advice and finding the network that will help you. This syndicate enabled us to close a $1.2 million round, and that was our first round. We had been entirely bootstrapped before we got this investment. We had a little bit of angel investors on board on Safe Notes before the programs, but it really facilitated and accelerated our race. And now we've pressed play.
All right, great. Thank you. And Daniel, what advice would you give to a company raising money?
I think you've got to get your story right. So I think it's a combination. You have a choice as a startup. You've either got to be a startup that raises revenue very quickly and has a great business opportunity, or you have a good purpose. So you're delivering value very quickly. But fundamentally, I think you either have to have a good source of revenue or a good path to a source of revenue. Because let's be honest, we're talking about businesses here. We're talking about commercial opportunities, and people are not putting in angel investors are not putting money into companies like mine because we're a charity. They're putting it because there's a return, and we want profit with purpose, or profit with however it comes back. So I think being very clear on the business opportunity, the business model, and your go-to-market strategy is very, very important. And I'm not saying we've got that nailed, but it's something we're always continually learning. So telling the story is the most important thing, I think.
And Daniel, perhaps you could just give me an overview of where you've gotten money from. So you've gotten some angel money. Where else have you gotten money from?
So we've closed financing in 2 rounds. We've done pre-seed financing, and that was largely from accelerator programs. So we've been through Techstars, for example. We've received money through Sequoia, through a number of different early stage capital funds. And then more recently, we've had follow-on funding from our pre-seed funders, and we've received more funding from angel investors lately. So it's a combination of early stage funds, accelerators, and angel investors. But all of them, I think, or well, not all of them, but most of them are very behind the cause that we're working towards, which is protection of biodiversity and nature.
All right. See, I hope you can hear me okay. Dragana, perhaps you could talk a bit. So they are doing a very different areas. So Dragana with MedTech and Daniel with a saving nature. Dragana, could you talk about where you've gotten money, how you've been able to raise money, what sources you've gotten it from?
Yeah, it's kind of similar. In the beginning, we were entirely bootstrapped. and we would join every single pitch competition accelerator there was on this planet. And it would be, $1,000 here, $5,000 here. And then they just increased a little bit over the years. And then we started getting grant funding, US government grants. And then that accelerated us into developing proof of concepts. And then now with our angel investors, we have a few angel investors, and we have one fund as well invested in this one. But no VCs yet.
No VCs yet. And Daniel, do you have VCs invested in you at this point?
Yes, we do. We do. We have a VC in Hong Kong, and we've also received money from a Fortune 500 company, which is more strategic, from the US as well. So two VCs mainly. I just wanted to very quickly add to a point that Dragana made, which actually I didn't mention, which we're very lucky in the UK. We have a program called Innovate UK, which is really, I've started 3 startups from Innovate UK funding, and all of them have worked. All 3 of them are rolling. So it's a phenomenal scheme. So yeah, grant funding, R&D funding is really important to these sort of early stages as well. So we've obviously dipped into that as well.
And so, Stefan, from an investor point of view, what advice would you give to someone who's looking to invest or wants to expand their investing experience?
So you mean from a startup point of view or from an angel investor's point of view?
From an investor's point of view. Well, but go ahead and tell us about a startup point of view as well, because you have experience in both areas.
Yeah, from the startup point of view, having a clear like a fundraising strategy and not just chasing the money, but have a clear fundraising strategy. Getting that a team member receives training on that, or even someone is hired partially, like a fractional fundraise leader, and also to qualify investors and to not just chase investors, to seek for investors which bring a network and knowledge to the table on top of money. I think that can change a little bit the dynamic of, just chasing and reaching out to investors, but rather than qualify and give, because that makes a difference to an investor that a startup is carefully selecting everyone joining the cap table and not just selecting the money. And from an investor's point of view, yeah, it's probably network with other angel investors and start building a community, sharing deals with others, and then building network, bringing people together, joining different syndicates across Europe and across the globe. That's it.
All right. So from the audience, any questions for our founders or investor?
I have a question from to the investors, if that's okay. So when you go through these due diligence and people have already signed up for the program, they have paid their fees, are you required to invest no matter which company is selected? Because at the end of the day, maybe we can talk a little bit about that process. At least I am curious on what happens, right? Do you invest blindly in one of those 6 companies, or are you, as an investor, can you withdraw if that's simply just not an investment you want to make?
Ideally, yes, with the way we do our program, the money is already in a pool and has already been paid, so that no matter who wins, you're committed. We no longer have or at this point, we don't have an SPV organizer who will take the money before we know who we're investing in. But we're working on that, because the idea is that the company should get the money that they've been promised, even if there are disagreements. And part of what's important about what we do, which is not true in all groups, is you need to be able to bring others on to the company that you like. If it's a quality company, you ought to be, as an investor, you ought to be able to discuss with your co-investors what the advantage is and why they should choose this company over another company. Stefan, did you want to add to that?
Yeah, it's like the sidecars, like the side investment are very interesting, because I mean the main investment, the winner, is a democratic vote, right? So it can be that you invest in a company which you don't necessarily perceive as the strongest, and the side investment is interesting because it's a choice, and you can create your own, you can select your own investment, so to say, and it's a good way of doing multiple investments per cohort and diversify the angel investing.
Yeah, your portfolio.
Yeah,
Thank
I was
you.
going to say that just to make an emphasis about our commitment to the participants, the founders, that they will get funded if they are the winners. The commitment from the investor side, that's part of the program, but also that there are different instances of voting where hopefully we have seen many votes turn around in the voting, depending on how the conversation is going. Those are my favorite sessions, because you get to really nail down and get to see from other people's eyes and experiences and backgrounds how they see it, why they see it one way or the other, why there is a risk compared to this other, etc. So I think that's the main point. So the minimum commitment, it's there for the winner. You can always invest more, and that usually happens once you know who the winner is. If you really like it, some investors will put more, double, triple what the commitment was at the beginning, because they really like that startup and they want that to invest more. Alternatively, you can also add, if you have more money to do angel investing, to do some sidecars. Every cohort, we have had at least 2 sidecars per program, if not more. So usually what happens that gets open up to other programs. So between SAC and TAC, we would talk to see if we can invest. I think we've done that with you, with INEA. So there's always like more opportunities as a founder, but also as an investor.
Thank you. Adriano, thanks for your patience.
Hello. Thank you, Martha. Thanks. My question is for the investors, and thank you for being here today. Thanks, Martha, for organizing it. My question will be, if you could share the most interesting project that you've invested in company and why.
They're all my children. I love them all, but maybe I love Dragana a bit more. I didn't give, so I did due diligence on Dragana, and it was the first medtech that I did due diligence on, and she was so patient with me because I didn't understand at all what she was doing, and went over and over and over. But it's really amazing what she's doing. I don't know how much you know about autoimmune diseases, but they're the way that most autoimmune diseases are treated, and she'll correct me if I'm wrong, but it's either not at all or with very serious drugs that are basically destroying your body. But she has a way of doing it with ultrasound that you wear, you see what's in their background there, which doesn't hurt the body at all, just allows the body to bounce. Isn't that amazing? And not that Dan's isn't wonderful as well, because he's saving the world, but all the friends I have who have autoimmune diseases, and I know that this is a big issue. So anyway, who else? What else? I also really like what I've invested in Africa, where there's money going to small businesses, small local businesses, helping them build up a long-term business that they can support their families and at the same time also be supporting their communities. That's also really a satisfying investment.
Maybe you can also give us some of the examples with your exits, because you've been in it for so long. Maybe.
Oh, yes. So exits, and actually Paola has one of these. Most of our exits the companies have been sold to other companies. But we have had some that have gone public. And so there's a battery company that went public a few years ago. And so it's making batteries out of salt so that it's not causing any damage to the environment. We just did have an exit, and I just looked at what the return was, but I don't remember what the company was. I'm sorry, but I do have. So in the years that I've been investing, I've gotten about a 20% IRR return. And the key to that is you make a lot of small investments, and then you can get good returns. Stefan, what have you really liked?
I mean, by far, I have to be honest that I don't have such a diverse and broad portfolio as Marta has. I wish I have that in maybe a couple of decades. So, but for sure,
I've been doing it for a while.
For sure, I have some interesting experience. So right now, I am in between an angel investor and a co-founder. So supporting, like doing an investment in a startup, but also supporting the startup in a fractional role for a while, like a CMO type of marketing role. And yeah, it motivates me to help operationally on the startup, because all what I'm doing is increasing the company value and also increasing my own investment. And whereas the investments I've done in TAC are more like passive, of course, we support the startups, we have exchange, we open doors, but there is no like an operational role from us in most of the investments.
Yeah, not usually. Thank you. All right, Kyle, thanks for your patience.
Hey everyone, good evening, good day. Sorry I came late, but really it sounds like a really good, interesting conversation. This one is for the founders in the room. Sorry if I missed it, but I'm right in the middle of monetization. And so I'd be really interested to hear kind of your monetization stories, those kind of first customers, whether they were individuals or actual businesses, and if you like freaked out and, ran out of the room, or you were really happy about it. I'd just like to hear kind of that moment. Little inspiration.
Founders. So Dragana doesn't have any customers yet. That's another thing about
short.
Oh, sorry.
But it's a very good point. So we're a medical device business treating autoimmune diseases. Our exit is to exit to a major strategic. Of course, that said, we have customers in the sense that we have healthcare systems and people that would purchase our product once it gets FDA approved. But to give you some insights, both Daniel and I were talking about it earlier. We both started out with government funding. Actually, go for government funding no matter where you are. Daniel went for Innovate UK. We went for the SBIR, STTR funds in the US because this is where we were based. And then we joined every single competition we could join. And we hustled us through, right? We didn't have any money, but we would find people that would work for us to get to the next inflection point, to get to the next milestone, bringing them on board as advisors, sharing a little bit of equity to incentivize them so they also feel incentivized to move on until we got that first check. And what the first checks for us were angel investors. We haven't raised from VCs. So that's maybe short from me. I will pass it on to Daniel.
Yeah, totally agree. That hustling is so important. Finding out where the funding is, finding out where it's just having that motivation and drive. From our perspective, we hit just over $1 million of income this year. Around just under half of that was sales revenue. So I think the real challenge for us personally, thinking about what we do, is it's fundamentally down to the basis of businesses valuing nature. How valuable is nature to a business, and why are they going to pay for this? So we're trying to move away from regulatory drivers, which have been the push for us. So a lot of businesses that work with us are looking to check boxes on property development. We're looking to change the narrative on how nature is valued, and so businesses looking at this more like risk rather than regulatory. But fundamentally, we've learned, I suppose, to answer your question, Kyle, is I think you have to have flexibility in your business model. You have to understand that you might get it wrong. And you have to, most importantly, you have to listen to customers. And I think you have to go out and speak to as many people as possible and understand what they want and what their needs are, so you can really understand how you can create value. But it's not easy, especially for Dragana and us that are moving into spaces where there isn't really a solid market, which has its advantages because we can be the first movers. So that's certainly where we're positioning ourselves right now.
Thanks.
Great. Thank you. Simona.
Hi.
Good to see you.
Likewise. Hi, everyone. Thanks for the conversation and for sharing these great experiences. So someone talked about the importance of investors, not just for money, but also for the value that they can bring to us. I'm a startup. As an early stage startup, we are in contact with different kind of investors. Some of them are entrepreneurs with success, and then they can put money. Others are financial investors. And it seems to us that the value can be very different. For an early stage startup, which kind of value or pro or cons you see in different kind of investors? I mean, entrepreneurs can be more useful or not than just financial investors.
I think I would be worried as an early stage. Now you're saying you're early stage.
Mm-hmm.
That can be defined very differently depending on where on the globe you are. But let's say you're very early stage and this is the first ticket you're looking to get. I might personally be a little worried about taking money from a financial person at this stage, unless I have done proper due diligence on him, because he's going to look at your balance sheets and nothing else. And you, as an early stage startup, might or might not have a balance sheet, right? And you don't want to be driven by this in the beginning, as my 2 cents. But I could be wrong, because we are in a different sector.
Thank you,
Although
Dragan.
Simona is in medical as
Medical,
well.
yeah, diagnostic, yeah, similar.
I
Thank
mean,
you.
not exactly the same, but yeah, the same, a lot of the same challenges there. Yeah. All right. Any other questions? I'm just noticing now that Paula sent me a note almost an hour ago saying I should have told more about our program. It is a 12-week program, and yes, it is pretty intense. It can be pretty intense. As a founder, you're doing multiple pitches. You start with a 1-minute pitch, then a 3-minute pitch, then a 10-minute pitch, and then the due diligence. And as an investor, you're looking through, and Stefan mentioned this, you look through theoretically only 60 companies, but sometimes once we had over 100 companies, which since my goal was to go through them all, can be really brutal. But mostly as an investor, we try not to kill our investors by making them go through them all. But we do try
also
to.
a good way to, because it's also like it's a training program, something that I like to remind founders as well, that on the other side there is a mix of experience. Having so many startups helps the investor to figure out their investment thesis, their bias, exposed to different things. So that diversity really adds up value on the total of the program, really. And it could be really intense, but for most people, for most founders, is actually just a 1-minute pitch, and exposure and feedback. For some other more selected startups is like more pitches, more one-on-one coffees, etc. So it depends on how far you come in the program. But we have had, and Dragana is a testament of that, many repeating founders coming back to different programs or to the same program, but come back later on. So that has been really good. I think, Martha, you have had many repeating startups in the programs you partake. Yeah.
Yes, that's one of the things. So many places where you go, if you are a founder, their goal is to get to know as soon as possible. So they have a stack of people who want money, and they go, no, 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 maybe this one, no, 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 maybe this one. Our goal for a founder is to get you to yes as soon as possible. And so it might be that you go through our program and we don't think you're investable, but we would love to see you again. Most places, once they've said no, they never want to see you again. So you need to be careful. And I think Daniel was saying about how you want to look for the right investor, and that's absolutely true. And part of our program is giving you the opportunity to meet a lot of different investors, and they may or may not like what you're what you're doing. They might not be the right investor for you. But it is also, as Paula is saying, it's a learning opportunity. And so we're trying to help investors understand a broader range of opportunities for them. And as I was telling Dragana earlier, for many years, I didn't want to have anything to do with med tech because it was so complicated and it seemed so risky to me. But I've really been very interested by Adriana. In learning more about it, and I have not yet had an exit from one of my medtech investments, but I'm looking forward to it. in the next year or two, I'm hoping. And I'm hoping that it'll be very lucrative as well as very interesting. So yeah, I've done, of course, I've done the program many, many times, and I learn every time I do it from the companies, from the founders, from the other investors. There's just always so many interesting things to learn, interesting opportunities. It's I think a very interesting thing, interesting way to spend your time, and can be profitable. All right. Any other questions?
I just share in the chat the link to the guest so they can see their criteria for founders. Overall, depending on your location, is the program that will be best fitted for you as a startup, and for investors the same.
Great. Thank you, Paola. Anything else? I might end on time tonight. I don't think I've done that the past month. All right, Abhijit. Save us from ending on time.
Absolutely. It was a real pleasure hearing everyone in this event, and lots of insights, valuable insights being shared by everyone here. I'm very thankful for this event, and thanks, Martha, for hosting this. I have one specific question to investors. My question is, what are the drivers for an investor to invest in a company other than ROI? Is it more and more ROI, or is it something a founder is building? So what kind of drivers are there for an investor?
Good question. And I know for many investors, it is ROI, and basically they want their return. It's not that I don't want a return, but I'm technically retired, and I want to do something interesting. Now I get to do what I want, and it's fun. It's just wonderful to get to learn about all of these different great ideas that people have, and all of the things they're doing. And I think that I'm perhaps a bit ADHD, because I get to learn about it, and then you go off and you do the work. And I spend a couple months on it, and it's interesting, and then I get reports on it over time, and it's a very interesting thing to do, very satisfying thing to do. I also really like to see people have the opportunity so there's the product or the service that they're bringing to the world, but there's also the opportunity for that person to gain wealth in a way that is not perhaps the classic way. You don't have to look a certain way. You don't have to be this certain person. You don't have to have gone to school at a particular place. You can, if you've got the right idea and you've got the right drive and the right amount of work, you can become very wealthy with the success of your company. And I really like to see that. I really like to see a wide range of people having the opportunity to become really wealthy, which is partly why I really like my African investments, because the goal with that is that they are transforming themselves and becoming wealthy. Thanks, Daniel. Anything else? Bye-bye. Thanks so much, Daniel. Okay, well, look at this. My computer says 8:01. So I'm going to let you all go. I know for some of you it's late in the middle of the night, and late. And then on Wednesday, I think you know that we're also doing a workshop on of going from customer to scale, if that's interesting to you. And I think I sent it to everyone. If you didn't get it, then let me know and I'll send it
There's
to
a
you.
link to our events page. There are a few upcoming events in different parts.
Great. All right. Thank you very much. You get to go to bed early tonight.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Martha.
Thank
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Martha.
Appreciate it.
Thanks,
Thank you,
everyone.
Great
Martha.
to see you all.